What's up, everyone? It's 2 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon, which means you're tuning in to Cannabis Legalization News. I'm producer Lauren, and today we're going to be speaking with James Eichner from Sana Packaging about how they're using hemp to fight back on the big waste problem that the cannabis industry is facing right now. But first, we do have to get into a little bit of cannabis legalization news. So, what's going on, Miggy and Tom?
Happy Wednesday.
Hey.
It's at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. That's great.
And we had Danko on Monday. That was pretty dope.
Check out our Monday show with Danko. It was really awesome. I liked how he some people were confusing him for you.
Well, it's the whole bear look, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was that what you were going for, bear.
I that's what I'm told I go for.
Right on, but yeah.
But yeah, but he was, the great points about home grow, priorities of legalization,
fighting for against the stigma. I mean, that was something that was big. And then I presented yesterday to these guys. So let me share my screen. I should have done that earlier. Share screens. And that's why I shouldn't have said I was ready. And now I get the Apple Wheel of Death, which means we're close to the time where I have to go and upset, and change out all the data that's in there because thrashing errors and all that. But I went to Green and Shy yesterday, and this was kind of a fun event at Hubbard Inn. It's a place in Chicago, I guess. And so, I actually led with the same thing that the same thing that I say in all my videos was like, "Hi, my name's Tom. You can find me by Googling Cannabis Lawyer and clicking on my website, CannabisIndustryLawyer.com, an online resource for all your legal questions about the cannabis industry." People started laughing when I did that. And I'm like, holy shit, how many of these people have actually seen me do that before on YouTube?
That's fucking awesome, dude. Oh, wait, you're coming back. You're syncing up.
I would like to thank Comcast for being a complete bitch. And so this is the problem, though. I might not be able to come to Chicago on Wednesdays no more if I don't have a YouTube studio. Every day that we try to do this, I'm guaranteed to be out,
Yeah, no, that sucks, dude. I mean, your connection just sucks, period.
It's fine in Peoria, but now I have to get one in Chicago. And I'll be working on that because you know what came out yesterday?
Oh, yeah, new regs?
No, more than the new regs. It is it's the Growers app. So the regs came out actually a few days prior to this. And I'm sure on the Growers app, if we look and we search for it, I bet we can find recycling. Nope, not recycling. How about environmental? Envelope. There you go. Environmental plan, Exhibit I.
Wow.
Exhibit H, Exhibit I. There we are. We'll talk to him, our guest, later about the environmental plan that was on that. But craft growers, and not just the craft growers, the infuser and the transporters all came out yesterday. So now you can start preparing to apply to be a grower in Illinois.
Man, I heard that some dispensaries or your pot shops have stopped selling recreational because you guys are so low.
Yeah, that's right.
No shit.
That's why we got it right here.
That's why you stocked up before.
I stocked up. I wasn't going to be without my wedding crashers, but no, I bought that weeks ago. And so I haven't been, but they clocked in at almost $11 million in their first 5 days. But then you have to remember.
Oh, wait, you're on mute now. Oh, you're just mixing it up. Oh, there you go. Nope, you're still on mute, bro. Yep. I will put words in your mouth. You just keep moving your mouth. Hi, my name's Tom. I'm your Cannabis Legalization lawyer. I like pie. Hey, bro, I think it's on the program itself. No, are you clicked on the? Because it has the little mute indicator. Right there, you go.
Now, all right, how's that?
Woo! We are technical in this bitch.
Yep. This might be the last show out of Chicago because this studio is jank, yo. I mean, the one in Peoria I can actually work, but then the one in Chicago, it's a piece of shit. Par for the course, but Chicago's expensive,
I mean, so yeah, fuck, that sucks. But you guys are going through the pot-ocalypse. It's like
pot-ocalypse. No, there's plenty of old cartridges and oils left, but they clocked in at like 10.8 million for the first 5 days, which essentially is just ringing the registers as fast as they can ring. And that's pretty much what happened the first day. I mean, they just only had so many places that you could buy weed. So Yeah, those registers just rang. Lauren was in line and she actually didn't get in line. I mean, like she was in line and then she was dropped. Hey, Lauren, come on for a second and explain to us your first day of pot story.
It was just messy. But I mean, everybody was really nice. We went to D33. They said it was going to take like 3 hours to get you through. You had to sign in like with the app where like they text you, kind of like restaurants, they'll text you a few minutes later.
Oh yeah.
They said it was going to take 3 hours. It became 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. We were just like, let's go home. If we get the text, we get the text. Then we get the text like 30 minutes later after they closed saying, we're not going to be able to take care of you. So we went like 2 days later. They had like some products, but not everything we wanted, but it was still fun. Everybody was really professional. We got really fun, so.
I mean, it's a cool experience because it's legal, right? Yeah. And something that didn't exist before January 1st.
Right.
I think Michigan only did 1.7 million in recreational sales in the first week. I think that comes down to the culture thing too, right? Because you guys only have so many grows and dispensaries. Those cats have been all over it, for years. But that's wild that you guys are so short and so long, the lines. Oh my God.
Yeah. Hey, Lauren, when you were buying, was everything shrink wrapped? You're just basically buying it off an iPad. No, you can't inspect any product. You can't see any product.
We didn't really get to do any of that. Yeah, it was really kind of an in and out situation. They were expediting, shouting people's names and stuff. It was really.
Yeah, well, they're just trying to make sure that people get their weed or their cannabis, their supply, which is important, by the way. But so now there's going to be a lot of these, and then a lot of these cartridges just piling up. So how are we going to
solve that problem?
Well, that's one of the things. I mean, like it is legitimately in the application. It's your environmental plan. Now it's only 20 points out of like 1,000, so it really doesn't count for much at all because it's just 20 points. But provide or demonstrate a plan to minimize carbon footprint, environmental impact, and resource needs for the production of cannabis and any plants for use of alt energy and treatment of exchange heated air. So 2% of your points, not that much, but still they put some focus on it. And they put a lot more focus, I think, on the dispensaries for the actual recycling.
Well, the whole fucking goddamn packaging requirement is just way excess already.
That's another. Now that is actually worth a lot more than 2% of the points. I think that was like 9.5% of the points.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I mean, it would be great to have. So when we talked to our guest, I mean, his product alone would add you 9 points.
Let's go here. The product safety and labeling plan. So it's Exhibit E on your craft grow application. It's worth 95 points out of 1,000 point scale. So it's worth 9.5%. And you have 55 pages to do your plan for safe, accurate packaging and labeling. Plan for testing cannabis, ensuring all cannabis is free from contaminants. Describe the plan for establishing a product recall in the event of defective product or health consequences to consumers, including methods of identifying product, notifying dispensaries, communicating disposal of returned product. That's it's boring. We did a whole bunch of those for the dispensary applications. We're going to do a whole bunch of them for the craft growers, and then also I would assume the infuser applications. But yeah, your product labeling and packaging is really important here in Illinois.
No, I mean, like you said, it's boring, but it's such a necessity. I mean,
compliance.
Politician to take the fun out of fucking weed.
Yeah, but that's one of the things that I mentioned yesterday is like, hey, they're complaining about labeling requirements and packaging requirements and how high the cost of the barriers of entry are to which assume a seemingly like innocent and easy thing to do, grow a plant. And I had to explain, like, this is basically food. I mean, like, this is something that you ingest or you inhale. And so you want to make sure that it's free from any contaminants or impurities or anything like that. And the only way that you can do that is reg. I mean, if you don't have those regulations that require that and that test for it, how do you guarantee the public is getting access to safe, pure cannabis?
Well, you're talking about like the from the grow. I mean, if lab testing was a requirement, it's back to if we had one rule, it'd be lab testing, regulation. That's it. Regulate the labs, make them provide that quality test. Spectrum, pesticides, metals, because people smoke cigarettes and people are going to smoke shitty weed. So let the consumer know. People will smoke shit with pesticides in it. They don't. Some people don't care, but some people do. And so that's where the market will, I think, even itself out, because when it was medical here, that was one of the things that kicked our ass as far as the medical program was people saying, well, you're not regulated. Well, I mean, what is regulation? What, some labs were, some bros were getting their shit tested. Some places were, not everybody. But if you were to flat line, put it across the bro, it would be for the consumer, in my opinion, because even if you put it in packaging, then you still have to account for storage, so it can still get molds and all the other shit that can happen with bad handling. So, the packaging requirement is just way excessive, because we used to have like open jars, like mason jars.
Yeah. You guys used to have bud tenders that could use chopsticks to pick out nuggets.
Yep.
That will never happen this year, at least in Illinois. That would be fantastic to see, that type of ability to do selection and enjoy the product from the experiential sense, like, going to a vineyard and then you get a taste of wine at the end of it. It's kind of like that, where you get to see the nuggets and then you get to smell them. But no, in Illinois, so like this would have been an eighth of Wedding Crashers from Revolution Cannabis. And it's already in a child-proof kind of package. It's because you need to slide this to create this little foot here that you could then pop it open. But it's not only in that child-proof package, it also has these particular things that, shows you that was on the test, and then it was shrink wrapped as well. And, that's just the way that it is here in Illinois, where you can't really get that experience where you get to see and pick out your own nuggets. It's too bad, in my opinion,
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, as we talked with Danny, we're still a far way where we were before.
Right.
Sure, this is overregulation, and it's a pain in the ass and it's shitty, but it's better than what we had before.
Right. Yeah. And that was one of the rejoinders that I had yesterday at the, what do they call it, Green and Shy over at the Hubbard Inn. And again, I'm going to be going to this next one that's coming up on January 22nd. So, news alert there. On January 22nd at the Godfrey Hotel Roofscape, we're going to, that's what it is. That's what it is. That means that I have to do January 22nd show from Chicago. So I will be going in and out on January 22nd show. And I hope that I'll be able to time it. So I'd be like, guys, the most important thing is, and then just out,
lose connection. Yeah.
Just be frozen. Yeah, of course. But no, with my luck, I'll probably fart on camera or something.
Well,
yeah, man. But it was a lot of fun. And then I had to mention that to some of the people that they really want to get in. And then I explained how expensive it is, why it's that expensive. And I'm like, yeah, that really does suck. It'd be awesome if it could be more open for everybody to get into it. But it's better than it was yesterday,
Yeah, no, exactly it. And then was there any consumption at your event? Were there any secret sessions or anything?
Well, look, there wasn't any consumptions at the event.
You're right.
So no, of course not. But then they can serve drinks because you can get that liquor license.
Yeah.
Because that's fine. There was product, of course, but that product was not for sale.
Yeah.
How it wound up there, to be honest. That's the problem that a lot of the legal cannabis industry is that it's still, it's a secret. You don't have to, you can't talk about it too much. Where did that weed come from? Because if you have your ounce, actually you need to have less than an ounce on you. Great. Do you have a license and registration for that ounce? Is that ounce, and then I have my medical card. So I could, in theory, have a mason jar of nuggets, less than an ounce. And I could be like, no, that's my medical supply that I grew personally.
Okay.
Yeah. It's silly.
Yeah, I just think because these events that happen and a lot of people, it's the new way of networking, right? I mean, before it used to be back alleys and shaking hands, and now we're in suits and trying to dress somewhat up. And you talk to somebody, a grower, and then that's when you meet later on that day or after, or whatever. Yeah. But and I wonder if our guest goes to these events, because I imagine they're trying to, but they have such a great product. I think people should be flooded into them instead of vice versa.
Well, it's one of those things where the packaging requirements are not going away. That issue's not going away. And neither is this green movement toward more environmentalism in cannabis and just in general. That's not going away either. So how do you fix the problem of having these little plastic things, and after they have weed in it, didn't you say that they won't allow them to be recycled in Washington State if they have weed in them?
Yeah, because it's contaminated now. Because the THC.
Well, you're gonna melt down the plastic and like turn it into something else. Contaminated with what?
Well, they also use glass jars too. Some of these fucking vendors are. I pay say $10 for a gram. It'll come in a glass jar, way excessive packaging. I feel the glass. I'm like, this thing must cost at least 50 cents or whatever. If you're buying in bulk, and it's like, how much of the money that I just gave, because also obviously the taxes and all that shit, but went to making that weed, and it's not that much when you're growing on that big of a spectrum. But yeah, just even glass, it's like all you can do is wash it out and then melt it out again.
No, so, I think you could recycle these things in Illinois. Let me just check on the bottom of this. It's got a number 4 on it.
Yeah, and I imagine, I would hope Illinois would have thought about that, or at least they're reconsidering it.
Well, that was like in everybody's application. Oh, that was the other thing. Did I tell you about the application numbers in Illinois?
Yeah, how like you were like number 200, but you also had like 5 applications. So
right, and so like the numbers weren't the numbers really, and so there was over 700 unique applications. So like 700 individual teams applied for the 75 licenses, but do you know how many applications those 700 put in? 4,000.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, 4,000 applications for 75 licenses. Now, and then again, like 600 out of that 700 were social equity, so they got half the cost of their non-refundable application fee of $2,500. 4,000 times 2,500 is an extra $10 million the state generated.
Bam.
So they generated $10 million in money from non-refundable application fees. They generated almost $11 million in 4 days or 5 days of sales. Illinois loves weed, man.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about packaging then. Let's get our guest on and then talk
about how we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on?
How's it going?
Thanks for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about Sana Packaging?
Yeah, absolutely. We design and develop cannabis packaging for a circular economy. My business partner, Ron, and I started Sana Packaging as a school project in graduate school in 2016 and have been working on it full time since the spring of 2017 after going through the Canopy Boulder Accelerator program. We just finished our first full year as an operational company, and we're excited to, hopefully take 2020 by storm.
I think you left out, James, though. You guys are hemp-based products, right?
Yeah, so we work with a few different material types. We like to think of ourselves as material agnostic. We're really just trying to find the best materials possible for us to use for packaging, which, from a sustainability and circularity standpoint, can mean a few things. But the materials we work with currently include 100% plant-based hemp plastic and 100% reclaimed ocean plastic.
Where do you get your source materials?
So for the hemp plastic, we currently work with 2 different suppliers. All of our materials, all of our inputs for our hemp plastic are sourced in North America, so the United States and Canada. A big part of what we want to do is also localize packaging, especially with bio-based materials. A big thing you're always going to be dealing with is transportation. And, the further those materials travel, the less of a sustainability benefit they'll end up having.
That was in my environmental plan. That was in a lot of teams' environmental plans of like, well, how are we going to reduce the carbon footprint of our cannabis companies? And one of them was like, hire local,
Yeah. Or, don't buy your packaging from overseas, because even if it's a sustainable material but being made overseas, a lot of that value is going to be lost just by shipping it. And then for our reclaimed ocean plastic, we've partnered with Oceanworks, which is a company here in Los Angeles as well, and they have a global network that they work with to collect, sort, and process those materials.
That one, aren't they also doing taking plastics from that island the size of Texas?
I don't know all the, I know the plastic we're using, which is a 100% HDPE. That's currently being collected in Haiti. I don't know all the different locations where Ocean Works collects their material, but it's definitely over half a dozen sources. So I wouldn't be surprised.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, but then the hemp materials that you make, so that or you create packaging in, is it more like hemp plastics?
Yeah, it's absolutely, it's a plastic. What we do is we take a PLA base, which is corn based, and then we infuse that with a micronized hemp hurd. We also use bio-based binders, so the final product is truly 100% plant-based.
Oh, wow.
And really our goal here is to, we know that plant-based is the direction we need to be moving in for single-use products like packaging. So that's kind of more of a forward-looking material. And then the reclaimed ocean plastic is looking more at a current problem and how we can, create an impact.
That's awesome. Now, your hemp plastics that you're sourcing, though, those come out of Canada and not United States yet?
No, both of our suppliers that we work with are based in the U.S. One is in North Dakota.
Nice.
One is in North Carolina. However, they source, they're the ones compounding the material and sourcing all the raw materials. We're just purchasing, plastic from them. And they source their hemp from the United States and Canada.
Cool.
That's good. Yeah, because that's the big limiting factor in the hemp market. And I wasn't puffing on no real joint. That was some delicious Oregonian lifter hemp. And so a lot of the hemp marketplace has been the smokable hemp flower or just the CBD biomass. And the hard thing that is going for the hemp industry is who's going to invest these monies to create these types of machines or facilities, industrial facilities that you can then take more industrial applications of the hemp plant as opposed to just its cannabinoid profile. So I was kind of curious if they were coming out of Canada where their hemp market is more mature, especially toward the industrial side, or if there were actually businesses in the United States that are starting to expand their hemp products beyond the cannabinoid of the flowering female tops.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to happen in the United States. As I said, both of our suppliers are domestic. At the same time, I wouldn't say Canada is definitely ahead of us in terms of the industrial applications of hemp, but compared to any other, industrial industry like that, it's still got, light years to go in terms of, getting not just the domestic, but the global infrastructure set up for hemp to really take off as an industrial material.
Yeah, something I didn't know that Tom and I learned in one of our first couple shows was I didn't know that you had to have a hemp for CBD properties or hemp for biomass properties. You had to grow it with that intent. I just assumed hemp, you just made it, and that was you can do anything you wanted with it. So, and then we because we've known for years that hemp can make paper and do all the other things that you're doing it now, but the issues, it has always been the cost, like you were saying. It's always extra for that hemp container. How are you able to compete with all this cheap plastic and all the other stuff?
Yeah, I think we're really fortunate to be telling a compelling story with our products and bringing some much needed and desired attention to the issue of cannabis packaging waste. And we also are fortunate to be operating in an industry that tends to be progressive skewing in its environmental views. So we haven't had too much issue with our pricing. We are definitely priced at a premium compared to your cheapest alternatives. That said, it's all been it's been working out great for us. Our pricing is affected by a few things. One is just our manufacturing capabilities, given that we're a small company. So as we grow, we'll be able to push down costs just by increasing our scale. And then, of course, specifically with the hemp-based materials, we're really just playing the long game there. It's going to be realistically, I think, at least 5 to 7 years until it's truly at a comparable price with a lot of other materials. And
well, maybe what we need is a plastic tax. I hear everybody talking about taxing sodas, but why don't they tax plastic and then put the price of that up so that, we were just, while you were talking, I had shared this. So this is one of your products, this hemp tube here.
Yep.
And so this is like a completely biodegradable plastic that you can put it's not just for dubs, it's for vapes or for pre-rolls, huh?
Yeah. So that's the 78 millimeter hemp tube. We also have a 110 millimeter one. And then we have the same 2 products also available in reclaimed ocean plastic. And then beyond that, they start to differ which product we make out of which material. But yeah, that was one of our flagship products.
Right on. It's great that you've already been in business for a year, and I hope to see, like you're saying, in 5 years, you see it being more embraced. And it's kind of ironic into the cannabis culture where you would think hemp would have been the first freaking material that people have been clinging to or jumping on. Bragging rights. We use Sana packaging for all our shit. I mean, this is something that needs to be emphasized because when I buy my joint or I do pick what the company's doing good. I like to look at the packaging, or the tubes. If I see one in like a plastic container or a little cardboard, I'd rather have those because I know that they'll get more, dissolved better than a tube. But a hemp packaging, you would think more producers and more people in the business would be jumping on you and just grabbing you up, man.
Yeah, I mean, we do get a crazy amount of reach out. I think upwards of 50 inquiries a week. So
that's one of the things that I can, when we're putting together the applications for our craft grows or for our kitchens, for our infusers, maybe we'll be like, yeah, we're exploring using biodegradable packaging material because it looks like, you have this and it's also like child proof. All right, check that little compliance requirement off, but then can we tie it back into your environmental plan? And then it gets back into like your company's brand of sustainability and like creating something that's going to leave the world a better place,
Absolutely. And we've actually found, obviously, of course, some potential leads are, turned off by the price and that's that. There's no way around that. But what we've found is that most of our customers just end up wrapping our packaging just straight into their marketing and branding. And they really start integrating it as part of their brand story, which they should be. And that's what we want them to be doing.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's, almost, we tell our customers to look at it as more of a marketing expense than anything.
Right.
That also has, creates great impact.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys have presence in Washington State?
We do. We have a few customers in Washington, not a whole ton. I think our 4 biggest states or our 5 biggest states are California, Colorado, Oregon, Oklahoma, and North Carolina. But, we're in probably over 20 states.
I'm sure you'll be in Illinois before too long.
We've got a few customers in Illinois, actually.
Nice.
Which ones are you guys making their stuff for? Which producer? Because I know it's not Revolution. This is this is clearly plastic. Yeah.
Oh, let me see if I have my customer.
Because you guys only have 3 growers.
We only have like 12. We only have like 20 cultivation licenses, but then there's only 19 that are actually currently in use, and then there's overlap on those 19. So there's maybe like 12 or so actual cultivators in the state of Illinois.
Gotcha. Let me see.
Hey, Tom, while he's looking, somebody's asking, did they change the laws in Illinois for cannabis paraphernalia, bowls, papers, etc.?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a thing, as far as possession, because it's a way to consume the cannabis no matter what.
Yeah, and like the other thing is, lawyers or doctors, it's the same thing. So you find out somebody's a doctor, you ask them about any malady that you have. You find out if somebody's a lawyer, you ask them about any question you have about the law. And I'm like, I'm sorry, are you a bank or a cannabis company? No, I cannot help you.
Well, our Illinois customers, some of them include Little Birdie, Well Vibes Organics, and the Hemp Foundry.
Nice.
Foundry. Nice.
You know, if you had a list on your website of all your people you supply to, like you said, it's a bragging right. I just think that everybody should be in a goddamn hemp. I mean, there's so much fucking waste. I had a bag full of jars, and you heard earlier in Washington, they don't recycle these containers.
Yeah, that's so unbelievable. James, do they recycle? Like, can you recycle your cannabis containers in California?
It really, the way those recycling laws work is, they differ so much state by state. So, for instance, in Colorado, it was a similar thing. And we were part of the work group that got the legislation changed. But, Colorado just started accepting cannabis packaging for recycling. I heard you talking earlier in the show about, it being contaminated with, drug residue, for lack of a better term, which is just so ridiculous. And I think California is even more complicated because it so much of California varies, even just on like the county and like municipality level, whether you can or can't do something cannabis related. So California is a whole behemoth.
Yeah, you guys are a mess out there, in my opinion. And I think everybody's a mess when it comes to legal cannabis, to be honest. But having the ability of the state to not have a restriction and then to allow the municipality, you're just asking for corruption. Because then you just have to buy off one guy as opposed to buying off the entire state, if you could, So that's happened out in Massachusetts. We've had people on the show that will talk about how Massachusetts mayors are getting indicted for super bribery when it comes to cannabis licenses.
I've definitely seen some like news stories pop up about that towards the end of the year. I think there's a few.
Mm-hmm.
We had one here in Washington when it was medical. A guy had a heart. It was a tax guy trying to shake him down. So yeah, I mean, it's an unfair position that people in cannabis are in. But you have the best one being auxiliary company.
Ancillary.
Thank you.
There you go. Don't ask me to spell that. I can use it in a sentence.
But yeah, I just think the ancillary support for cannabis is really the best move for a lot of people. Were you in packaging at all? Marketing? What was your thing you were going for?
My professional background prior to cannabis was mostly in the social and environmental justice sectors, along with a very brief stint in the music industry.
That would have been hilarious if the very brief stint was in the corporate M&A. I don't know what I was thinking. Just something ruthless. You want to save the world.
Oh, he's frozen again.
That's what happens when I start talking about, surreptitious, diabolical things. Comcast is like mute.
Trying to save the world again. Boop.
Yeah, stop him.
That's dope, though, man. I can imagine you wake up every day and just going, all right, we're helping the world be a better place again. Your product's biodegradable, or you're just pulling from the ocean and saving turtles. I mean, it's a fucking amazing company you got going on, bro.
Thanks. Yeah, and neither Ron or myself had a background in packaging prior to starting Sana Packaging. As I mentioned, we met in grad school. We were at CU Boulder getting our MBAs. And really, we just came at it from the perspective of frustrated cannabis consumers because we spent several years in the Colorado rec market just dealing with the packaging as consumers.
Right on.
And then it really our founding mantra has always been that we're here to try and solve a problem, not sell a widget.
Right on.
How do you solve this problem?
Yeah.
How do you solve the vape cartridge problem?
I have no idea. That things get so complicated so fast once you start mixing materials.
Right.
And that's glass and metal and different kinds.
And then this actually, I mean, I've gone through a lot of vape cartridges, so I'm committing the same sins that everybody else is. But hey, do you really want me to whip out a joint while I'm walking down the street? Come on, you guys complain enough about how it smells. And but it's glass and it's metal, and then there's residue of cannabis oil in there as well. How do you recycle that?
It's practically impossible the way, it is currently. And I don't know. I'm actually very curious to see what the vape industry does about it. That's not it, that, the cartridge is theoretically packaging, but that's definitely not the kind of packaging that,
it's got that 510 thread.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
like, it's just, and then like some of them, they all come from China. I don't know of any place, and correct me if I'm wrong, internet. I don't know of any place that has a vape cartridge, manufacturer in the United States.
No, I don't. And what's wild about that too? I've seen those cartridges where because now we have return policies in Washington because they're from China, and I don't know how this works. As a guy who does electronics, like it's a simple fucking wiring thing, and then you plug it in and it doesn't work. I'm like, how does this? Because they're making them in bulk, and not all of them are going to be complete circuits, but I mean it's a shitty way to product. James, do you guys have like a R&D hemp lab where you guys are trying to? Because I know one of the complaints I've heard about hemp packaging is it's not clear.
Yeah, it's gonna, as far as being able to make a transparent plastic out of hemp.
Yeah,
that it's not a question of reinventing the wheel. It's something we do every day with other plant-based materials, specifically corn-derived polymers. But it is a matter of readapting that technology to a new bio-based feedstock. And, we could go out and do it today, but it just wouldn't be at a price point that would ever sell. And this is where it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning with just the general lack of industrial hemp infrastructure.
Yeah, and not only that, the farm subsidies for corn have been at work on corn prices, pushing them down for decades. The farm subsidies for industrial hemp start next year.
Exactly. And hopefully we'll see it embraced for a lot of subsidies, because that would go a long way, because
they're like taking back the CBD though. That lifter I was smoking earlier, it's great, wonderful terpene profile, wonderful CBD profile, but it would be over the line on total THC. Like its total THC might be approaching 1%, a little bit under, maybe like 0.7, 0.8 total THC, but 0.3% delta or total THC is going to be the law of the land come 2021 crop year. And that could just screw up all these hemp farmers that have invested millions, if not billions of dollars in this new crop.
Yeah. I think, my personal opinion would be to, and I don't think this will happen for some time, but to go towards an intended use policy where, similar to what they do in China for hemp, which is, they don't care what the THC level in your hemp is, as long as its intended use is not for consumption. And that's how they distinguish it. So, the hemp that they're growing for textiles, which is China's primary industrial use for hemp, that can be up to 10, 12, 13% THC. But as long as its intended use is for textiles, they don't care.
Interesting. Yeah, and I like Dr. Ethan Russo's classification methods for the chemovars of the cannabis plant, where we'll have like type 1, and that'll be like, your wedding crashers, which is, your recreational type, where it's just going to be high high THC. And then like your lifter would be type 3, because it's high CBD, very low THC. And then like your Harley Sues or your Argyles, your balanced 1-to-1 strains would be a type 2. And so like type 3 would be hemp, but I still like the intended use. That's nice. But then you could be doing the intended use, and I just don't think that America is going to go with that. Hopefully because the 0.3 number is completely arbitrary. It was literally just made up.
Yeah.
Do you worry, James? Because obviously the CBD craze is going on now, and going to CBG eventually, but just because of greed, and it takes a while to grow hemp, do you worry like the textile you're going to run out, at least for American source textile? Because Tom and I, as we've been doing this, we learned that obviously nobody wants China hemp, but Africa, it's a poor country that can't, it's all natural for the most part being grown.
Yeah, I don't think the U.S. will ever compete with China in the textiles market. Where I do see bigger opportunity in the US for industrial applications is bioplastics, and then almost even more so building materials. When you think of the concrete industry, for instance, there's no global concrete, or behemoth. There's a concrete company every 50 or 100 miles because no one's going to move the material that far because it's really heavy. Right. So that's where I see a big opportunity for domestic hemp, is in building materials. So whether it's hempcrete or hemp fiberboard, and then other things like insulation, and then bioplastics. But yeah, I think as far as textiles go, though, I don't think we'll ever. It'll be like U.S. cotton. Where it's like, some people want to buy domestic, and we'll pay the premium for U.S. cotton. But I think U.S. hemp's going to be the same way for clothing.
Sure. Sure. Because what's the life cycle for hemp? How long do you guys know how long it will take to get a good crop? If you're doing it outside.
Yeah, it's like I think like 80 days.
Is it 8 days?
Yeah, like 60 to 90 days.
Yeah, and if you're doing industrial applications, there's an entire methodology how to like row crop it as opposed to how to crop it for its flowers. And so you want to harvest at a particular thickness of the stalk, because if it's too thick, then it's the harvesting equipment that you have, and then the processing equipment will just be all screwed up. So yeah, it's a different method of farming the same plant entirely.
Sure. I think people underestimate like the fact that marijuana and hemp being the same plant, though. Like you're saying, it's all about timing and how you grow it and treat it, because your hemp can turn into marijuana by accident.
Yeah, well, it's just the way, and the plant itself is just so interesting, and then it's actually reproduces like that. Yeah, and so it's just trying to make seeds. That's doing its biological thing.
Yeah. Hey, off the topic of packaging, did you guys hear that the scientists discovered 2 new cannabinoids?
Yeah, I did, because you sent me that. Yeah. So yeah, here they go. Scientists have discovered 2 new cannabinoids, THCP and CBDP, and the P stands for fun. No, it doesn't. It stands for biferol. So ferol right there, tetrahydrocannabiferol. Evidently, it's 30 times more potent than THC.
I'll have to test that one out.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's probably one of those things, though, that is this a synthetic cannabinoid that kind of like spice or K2? You might just want to avoid. I mean, if it's 30 times stronger than THC.
Is that what that was? It was lab produced. You're a fast reader, fucker.
I don't know if I need anything stronger than THC.
Yeah, good. Actually, sometimes I like some CBD because I've had too much THC.
Exactly.
CBD can put you right.
I like it. It's great. I mean, the CBD aspect of it, I think, has gotten the pharmaceutical industry fairly scared.
James, are you you're a consumer? Are you a grower as well?
No, actually, I've helped some friends here and there with their home grows, but I've never had a home grow of my own.
Right on.
Yeah. So
is it legal out there in Cali? If you wanted to?
The home growing? Yeah, I absolutely think home growing should be legal.
But is it? Is it for you?
I don't think 64 did that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What did they end up doing in Illinois?
Medical patients. So I've never home grown, but as you can see, that plant still is not dead, despite how many times I have tried to kill it. And now that I have my medical card, I'm able to grow 5 plants in my house. And I guess I'm going to have to. I mean, like I've seen the rigs in some of my friends' places, and then the materials only cost like $300 or something like that. The problem is that I live in 2 different places right now. And so I'm going to continue to live in 2 different places. And so I was thinking about like when New York starts to legalize, I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to camp out there for like a year and just make sure that New York legalizes it, or as they get into it, because I help these teams, put together their applications and stuff, and they are fairly uniform across the United States. I mean, it's highly regulated, and they're looking for specific things, but Illinois did it a little bit differently in the sense that they really took this social equity and they put it right into the companies that are getting formed themselves. So that's really the only unique defining characteristic. And then all these consultants that are out there, not all of them are lawyers. In fact, most of them are not lawyers, and but a large percentage is. So I could help them consult with their package or their applications in New York, and then also advise them like, don't do that. That's a stupid policy. We tried that in Illinois. This is what happened.
Got a question on transparency. This guy asked, why focus on transparency of the plastic packaging when we only care to throw it away without killing the planet? And I think he's losing out. This is the hard part about activism, is also being an adult, where you're like, yeah, but this is also marketing. You know, if you can attract more people to buy the hemp plastic, you're saving the world more and more each way. I mean, you're already doing a great work with the ocean work and the hemp bio that you're doing now. But I'm just trying to explain to Nicholas that if we had clear hemp plastic, more people will be buying it. No,
it's a fine line because, you know, I see where he's coming from, and, you know, I agree, which is, you know, part of it's just what consumers expect, but, you know, just because a consumer expects it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing. And you know, I think that's all part of changing perspectives, and, you know, part of what we're trying to do is to change the narrative around packaging and the way people think about packaging. So, like, you know, does it really need to be transparent? And then, you know, if so, should we be using a different material instead, like maybe glass? But, you know, it all becomes really complicated really fast, because then you start comparing things like glass to plastic, and it's like, well, glass isn't, you know, petroleum based, but at the same time, it's a lot heavier. So it has a much larger carbon footprint from like a shipping perspective. It's also more difficult to recycle. So basically the point I'm making is, you know, the whole way we think about materials and packaging, really, I think we'll see it to really start change globally over the next, you know, few years. We're already starting to see it happen a lot in the beauty industry and cosmetic industry. But I think, it's not going to be just in cannabis, but it's going to be a more global shift that we'll see happening.
I hope so. I hope more consumers.
Do you still have like a prejudice around cannabis in LA? How much of a stigma surrounds cannabis out west where you live?
I mean, you know, I live in Venice. I consume pretty openly all over town.
Venice pretty liberal.
So you guys have really kind of beaten the cannabis prejudice.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm that asshole smoking a joint, though. So who knows?
Okay. but nobody's giving you shit.
No. But you know, Venice is also unique. I don't know what would happen if I did that in other parts of LA. I think I also have, you know, the privilege of being able to do that as like a white guy. So like, I don't think many people are going to bother me.
Right.
So, you know, I've got that as well. So, but, you know, for my personal experience, it's pretty chill here.
You'd be surprised though, in California, even San Diego, the city council is against dispensaries and whatnot. I mean, they've been fighting for cannabis businesses in the San Diego area. I mean, even though it's the highlight, because I'm from Oceanside originally, and you know, that whole area is very liberal, beach going. I mean, it's pretty much stereotype. What's that skater movie with the
Dogtown?
Yeah, Dogtown. I mean, you know, California's all like that, right? Just stone, happy.
Yeah, but actually, and you guys might know better than me, but I believe that over half the counties in California did not vote to legalize, or, you know, to have legal cannabis sales in their, you know, areas of jurisdiction. So a lot of California is still pretty dry in terms of like where you can and can't buy it.
So the prejudice is real.
Yeah. It's a thing.
Yeah, we got to work on that. We got to work on prejudice and single-use plastics.
Yes.
James, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can we find and follow Sana Packaging?
Yeah, you can on all the social media platforms. We're just at Sana Packaging, all one word. And our website is www.sanapackaging.com.
Sweet. Awesome. As always, guys, thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe to keep up with all cannabis legalization news. We'll see you next week.
Bye,
Thanks.
everybody.
Thanks,
Later.
James.
James.